Welcome, everyone, back to the Magnus Effect, the podcast where we talk to ambitious students around the college campus and see what they're into. Today, we have a very special guest, Henry Goldberg, who has been my suite mate now for almost a year. And Henry is very ambitious about two almost completely different things, aerospace as well as fashion. So today, astrophysics, my bad. And today he's here to talk about how he balances the two and where he's going with his passions. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Henry.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So just please lay it out for the audience. Just give a short introduction about yourself.
Will do. All right. Right now I am undeclared, but I plan to declare in astrophysics. As Magnus said, I'm very passionate about very different subjects. Really, I could just an entire universe, so to speak, away from each other. One being fashion, the other astrophysics and space. I am part of two different fashion clubs. One is Garb, the other is Fast. I write for Garb, and I style and model for Fast.
Very cool, very cool. So what types of roles do these clubs that you're a part of play into maybe your dream?
They've kind of helped me narrow down like who I'd like to be around and really what my priorities are in life. I've been very I don't know how to put it. I've been questioning like previous life decisions and choices and like the whole plan I'd set up for myself. Trying to get into this school. And I think the clubs have really helped me do that. Like So when I was going to the school first semester, I got COVID. Actually, I was supposed to join Cal Band. I got into Cal Band and UC Jazz. Ended up dropping them both because I just didn't have the time for them.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but I got to the dorms like a week after everyone. So I was the last to get a bunk. I was like top bunk. I was shoved in the corner.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and so I remember putting up all of my posters. I had like a bunch of space posters like all over the side of my room. A lot of like science stuff, like universe, galaxies, pictures of other like celestial objects. And then we had a roommate move out over winter break, and I moved down to like another bunk on the other side of the room, and I started putting up. I didn't take down any of the other stuff. I just started putting up more stuff. But it wasn't until like last month that I realized, like I took a step back from the room and I realized like it was two completely different people. Like on one side of the room, like the top bunk, it was like all science posters, all space. And on the other side, it's like different art pieces, fashion designers and all this sort of thing. And so it's this huge like, I don't want to say like dichotomy, this large like split in personality and passion and really goals. That has been somewhat of a struggle, but also a joy.
That's really interesting that you found like some discrepancy in like the things that you just surrounded yourself
physically as well, which is really interesting. Usually it's not that apparent.
So what projects is Henry working on right now? What should we expect to see from you in the next coming months?
So projects wise, I've released a couple articles previously for Garb. But I definitely want to get in. Okay, so I've done some of like the writing as far as fashion goes. I've done some of the styling, which I'll also be releasing photo shoot photos soon, under Fast. And then I've also done some modeling, which I actually just watched a show last night for Garb, which was really fun. But I also want to get into like actually sewing and pattern making, and the actual like physical craft of fashion. And so I really want to explore that over the summer, whether it's just making simple garments, maybe eventually starting my own brand. I also hope to work for like some sort of boutique over the summer, and really just getting into all aspects of fashion and learning if maybe that's what I want to explore. But on the other hand, I'm also releasing like a research paper, or not a research paper, but I just finished ULab, which is like an undergraduate research class, in which we simulated, it works with like gravitational lensing, things like that. I won't get too deep into that, but it's like, we're exploring how Kerr versus Schwarzschild, which is like stationary versus, etc., how black holes like distort images and trying to reverse that and
That's
stuff like
really
that.
cool.
So very different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. So can you try to break it down for like what do each of these like subjects play a role in your life? What do you think people should or after that question, as a little build up, it would be like I want to ask you like why do you resonate so much with fashion and or astrophysics and like what role does it play in your life? What do you think it should like mean to other people?
Yeah, no, I mean, as for like the intersectionality between the two, I'm not sure, but individually, I can definitely speak to fashion. For me, I'd say it's very easy. I just love the freedom it grants through self-expression and how I can portray myself in any number of ways. But I also love um, how deep it can get, but also just how misunderstood it is. A lot of people only see it for its materialistic value. A lot of people, there's a difference between being into style, like personal style, and being into fashion. And a lot of people think like, oh, if you're into like, I don't know, there's like a lot of gatekeeping with fashion as well, as far as like super niche designers, price point, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, it is an art just on body a lot of the time. And so I really like exploring that and seeing how it can sort of seep into other fields.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that self-expression idea and the creative outlet. For space and astronomy, I remember watching Cosmos with my dad in like middle school, and we would like stargaze sometimes. So I've always been very interested in space since like middle school. I think I really want to go to space at some point. So there's that. But oh, I'm really interested in cosmology as well, and I don't really fear existentialism, and I kind of embrace it. And I really like cosmology and space just because there's always something like we just found out like the universe is a lot older than when we thought it was, and now a bunch of textbooks need to be rewritten. And I really like just learning, just being on the frontier of that and learning about the similar laws that affect a variety of celestial bodies in the universe. And it kind of gives me, I like to say, like a foothold on the universe. It gives me a place to grab onto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's some things you've realized, like the commonalities between these two subjects, having in between, like being between them over the past year, that people may not like see on the surface?
Man, I don't know. I've tried to look for like some similarity, like the
It's
closest.
just so different.
Yeah, the closest I can. Yeah, no, that's the reaction. Is like I'll be in the fashion club and I'll introduce myself. Oh, what's your major? Astrophysics. What? Yeah, because usually it's like I don't know, media studies or like I don't know, poli sci a lot. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The like closest I can give you is like new spacesuit designs. I think by like an MIT
Okay.
architecture professor that I read. That's about it.
Look out, guys! Henry's gonna design the new most fashionable spacesuits.
Yeah, that'll
He's
be
gonna
the day.
create space like runway moonwalks.
Oh, that'd be the day. Yeah,
That'd be sick.
anti-gravity runway.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Do you think it's important that everyone finds their style? Do you think fashion is like something that people overlook a lot, or like overlook or underlook?
There's people that just go through the day and they just wear clothes just because it's there in front of them. There's no thought into it at all. It's just something to make sure they're not naked. And there's people that are completely unbothered by that. I don't know. I feel like it's definitely good to find your personal style, and it can lead you to explore more things about yourself, which I think is very important. I don't think it's necessary, but I think you can find a lot, just like many of the other arts, you can find so much good in it. And like, just because it doesn't, I don't know, gives you some sort of like, say, like monetary return or benefit, doesn't mean that it's not valuable in that sense. There's a lot of like personal benefits in finding your own style, exploring that, putting work into it, tracking down pieces that you've wanted for so long, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so I think it's very, I don't know. There's people that just will never go a day in their life like thinking about, what shirt they're going to wear. They just throw it on. But I think it can definitely help other aspects in your life as well, as far as like looking professional, what you want to appear as, stuff like that.
What advice would you give to those people that say fashion seems too intimidating? It seems like everyone's gonna judge me. I don't have that much money to get like these cool styles, but I really want to
Mm.
express myself. How do you go about facing that challenge?
For finding your personal style, experimentation, I think, is one of the best ways. You can start with an easier style to kind of ease into. One being like minimalism and just trying to find blanks, and just clothes that really fit well, exploring new silhouettes, things like that. Um, and then, yeah, just experimenting with different pieces, what feels good on you, what you really like, what doesn't work, why doesn't it work, color schemes, monochromatic, stuff like that. And yeah, and just trying to find like um, pieces that work within your budget. As far as like being shut out of like knowledge, that would be nice to know. I'd say yeah, but um, hmm, I don't know. But I think, can you repeat the question again? I'm kind of confused.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you were affected by the gatekeeping nature of the fashion community.
Yeah, no, I think like to some extent, like everyone is, as far as like the restriction of information. It's just that you don't know it. So it's kind of hard to see like to what extent when you don't know what you're shut out of. Um, I'd say definitely like a lot of designers or like websites that you can buy clothes on are definitely like very gate kept, just because they don't want prices to go up, for them to become more popular, more mainstream. I think part of that has to deal with like identity surrounding fashion, where um, a lot of people buy expensive clothing not because they actually like it, but because no one else has it. And so it's that sense of individuality, not from their personal style at all, but rather just from unobtainability, either with money or limited access, stuff like that. And that makes them feel good. And that makes them, oh, I just hit the mic. That makes them feel good. That makes them feel unique and special rather than actually finding like a unique style or something like that. Um, and so a gatekeep to preserve that feeling.
Are these topics that you've talked about in the research papers you've made for your clubs, or can you tell me a little bit about the research papers you've written?
So yeah, as far as like the articles, are you talking about like
The articles. I
okay?
apologize. Yes.
Yeah, no. For the uh, as far as the articles I've written, the first topic I wrote about was dressing as a guy. Is it? Or it was like the title was dressing as a man. Is it effortless or arduous? And that one wasn't about gatekeeping. It was, I guess it kind of subtly it could be about gatekeeping ish. Not really. It's different. It's from like societal norms, and so it's talking about how like um, dressing as a man in one sense is easy because you don't have to face the same societal structures and norms that women have to face as far as being presentable and having to look presentable, and the higher bar it is to be considered fashionable, because women are always expected to be considered fashionable and presentable throughout the objectification of them throughout history, etc., etc. But at the same time, it's also hard because of like terrible male role models that just encourage other just really bad toxic masculinity and things like that. And so in one sense it's hard, or in one sense it's easier because it's like I don't know fewer steps or yeah it's fewer steps, but even getting to that first step is hard because of bad role models, and you know stigma surrounding like being suspected of being gay or something. Yeah, and then the other one was uh, what was the other one? Um, 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 oh, disability in fashion. Yeah, so that one was talking about um, how aesthetics and I think it was there was no aesthetics in prosthetics or something like that. I think that was the title.
Interesting name.
Yes, yeah, and so it was like talking about the separation and also just fashion itself being so limited in like silhouette as far as being tall, skinny, like that's the goal of everything. Tall, skinny, lean, um, and so how fashion can separate itself from so many different groups of people and body types because of that toxic image. And so with disabilities, people with disabilities, namely physical, a lot of the times they're shut out because of that, and it's almost always separate and never been considered like overlapping in any way. And so I cited two examples of disability being used in fashion, and one was in an Alexander McQueen show, his number 13 show, where model wore.
Who's that, by the way?
Alexander McQueen.
Yeah.
One of the most famous designers of all time. He's known for, so he's a women's wear designer. He started at Givenchy and then had his own label. And he's mainly known for his sort of macabre, grotesque, very extreme designs. He really wanted to empower women and make them look as fierce and powerful as possible through his dress designs, through his suits, et cetera, and just constantly challenged norms, constantly challenged ideas and the perception of women. And part of that is due to his very dark background, as far as the abuse he faced as a child, and the abuse I believe he saw his mother face as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so you can see a lot of that in his work. And he's a really good example, I mean, sadly, of like how such great art can be drawn from such terrible pain. And so you can really see that in a lot of his runways, number 13, Voss, and just so much more.
It's so interesting that you gave this like community some attention. Like it seems so underrepresented, and not many people would like associate disability with like fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But so taking into consideration everything you've said, you love fashion, and even more some astrophysics things. But what role does school kind of play into your life? How do you stress? Do you think it's more beneficial to you, or you think it's holding you back from reaching your full potential?
Oh man, ugh. I don't know. I think it can definitely help me get to some sort of potential or some sort of future, but I don't know if it's what exactly I want to do now. I know I came into the school and, thinking astrophysics, seeing that one side of my room and now having another. Because I'm not particularly fond of like the outcomes of an astrophysics major as far as like research goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's given me like so many opportunities to join garb and fashion. It's really given me, like such a great platform and area to meet people and kind of experiment, I'd say. I really have to think about it, and it just kind of depends on like where I go next. And I know I've joked about like going to fashion school and stuff like that, and that's definitely like a possible outcome. Still, like I'd say, pretty far down the road as far as like thinking about it. And that's kind of what I want to use this summer for, is like exploring the extent of my passions,
Very
and if I
nice.
really want to follow through with that. And I think there's a lot of that's one area where I think the Berkeley name kind of hurts you. Is like there's so much stigma around just doing what makes you happy. And I mean, that's the reason I joined fashion clubs in the first place. Is like there's people that, like I was saying, like will go a day in their life, never think about fashion ever, their entire life. But in a fashion club, you don't have to explain to people why you like fashion. You can just talk about it, and it's just understood. And so with with Berkeley, there's like so much stigma around. I guess that's where like the name hurts, is because people are saying like, oh, you really like you'd give up Berkeley to do this, or like you'd give up the name to do this. This being like I don't know, some other like less cushy tech job, whatever it would be. Like, but if it makes me happy, why is that a compromise? And so I guess in that sense it can be limiting, and it's really just like what I what I want to do in the future, and if I don't feel like I'm ever working towards my goal like actively, and I know it doesn't have to be like life shouldn't be fun all the time, but if I'm not actively working towards what I want to do, then why am I even doing it?
It's very nice. I like the message you just put out there right now. For people who also have like niche hobbies, or like not even niche, just like hobbies um, that are usually stigmatized as like, oh, not making any money, very high risk industries, such as like yourself who wants to become a fashion designer, but most people think that that's not very achievable unless you work extremely hard. Do you think it's important that you come to universities just to like immerse yourself in other fields to kind of uh, not like limit all the possibilities that are out
Mm.
there.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say as well because I've heard so many things about like art schools where it's like, oh, don't go, it's not worth it. Like you're not like you could just do this outside of school. I think that's true about a lot of things. Like you could just like learn linear algebra, like on YouTube.
Yeah.
You'll probably do better than like I don't know, at least some portion of like the class that takes it here. Like there's so many available resources online. There's like entire Harvard and MIT course listings for every class, every lecture. Um, I think it's a great place to learn about yourself and to learn and explore about what you really want to do.
Mhm.
As far as uh, expanding as a person, like I said, like I think that's a very possible thing to do, or a very easy thing to do in college, because there's so many different resources that you have access to now, so many different people as well that you can talk to. It's great for networking. Um, and I think it also depends on the type of person you are. I think you're kind of hinting at the question of like play it safe and like you know
More like, what role do you think higher education plays in this role in this world, this current world?
um uh for some people a lot of profit, especially with the rising tuition.
Uh-huh.
What role does it play? um See, that's the thing is like I feel like within so many like increasing costs of living, it's almost like a necessity now, at least to secure that salary to live in like certain areas, at least in the U.S., is it almost feels like a necessity, pretty much, and that's very scary from like a personal passion standpoint
Yeah.
because it's like you can. I feel like there's like a lot. There's definitely like multiple types of people in this world, but I think like two of them, you can like see like this, where you have you know, one person who kind of splits their life, right? They have their passion, then they also have like a job that they have to work. Maybe they like their job, maybe they don't, but it makes them good money. It's like it's secured income, it's steady income. And then there's like the other type of person that kind of like is all into their passion, but they don't have like steady income. It's not secured, it's not stable, it's likely not as much at all.
Yeah.
But they're a lot like more passionate about it. They don't have to split their life.
Mhm.
And I don't know what type of person I am as far as like those two people go. Maybe it's like honestly somewhat, I guess a mix would be contradictory, but I don't really know like what kind of type of person I am yet. And so I think pursuing higher education kind of plays a big role into funneling people into that left area, or instead of choosing your passion and doing what makes you happy. I mean, there's a reason so many people choose CS at this school and so many people choose data science. Like you look on First Destination Tracker after graduation and it's easily like the highest salary. It's like the median is like, oh man, like 110, like the upper quartile is like 130. Like it's good. Like and you hear salaries like above that and it's really, really good. So many people funnel into that because it's, a cushiony tech job. And maybe it's like harder to get a job now because of like layoffs and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's very easy to like fall for that side. And maybe it's not even like falling, it's like not even a negative path to choose. But yeah, I think it's definitely pushes you towards that. There's definitely a push towards that side rather than the other side because it's safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of the main themes of this podcast is kind of passionate individuals bringing other passionate like individuals up and like helping each other and basically feeling this like positive feedback loop. How would you say that the people you surrounded yourself with in either the astrophysics world or the fashion world has really propelled you to pursue one or the other more?
Walking for Fast, I got to go to all the model fittings, and I got to go to the rehearsals and just see all of the different designers like sewing and making last minute adjustments and perfecting this. And I haven't done a lot of sewing yet, but I've done a whole lot of like modifications to clothes, and whether it's like adding different stuff or painting different stuff and like cropping this and tailoring this a little bit or bringing it in here and just like messing with clothes, and I really like making it fit for me or someone else or whatever it may be. And so I think that's really pushed me to explore aspects of fashion. And I was talking about it with my parents as well, where when kind of like deciding on like what you want to do in life, because at the time I was just writing for Garb, and it was like, okay, he likes writing for Garb. Is it, think of it like umbrellas under umbrellas, like a big umbrella, and then under that big umbrella, like smaller ones. And it's like, okay, does he like writing or like English in general, and then fashion's like a sub aspect of that, or is it fashion, which is like the big umbrella? Then everything I like falls under that, which I think that's the case because I like writing, styling, modeling, even like parts of like the business aspect of it, and then sewing and pattern design, things like that. And just being around those people at Fast and just like visualizing that kind of umbrella has made me want to explore these aspects more so. And being around cool people for like the start of ULab, it's also made me look into that more. Which ULab is a great program. Anyone looking to get into research should do that. Like you get to go to like there's always like physics conferences and stuff like that, but you get feedback from professors. You get experience with different like research tools, latex. There's like formulating like a poster and like just developing your research project and things like that, and working with mentors, which is really fun. And so that's also encouraged me, and also just like I went to some of the it's like an Astro C10, I think it is. I haven't even taken the class, but it's like a physical sciences breadth, I think, for LNS. But I went to like one of the optional lectures that Professor Filipenko taught, and listening to those was just like incredible. There was like one I listened to from like 7:30 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. For like 4 hours straight. It was one of the best lectures I've listened to in my entire life. I didn't blink once. Like it was amazing. And so seeing people like that, like Nobel laureates in my school, he's got a parking space, right? That's crazy. And like seeing those people has also made me like push more in like that direction and what I want to be and what I can be and what the extent of that is. Yeah.
Very nice. As like a closing question, if you could give one piece of advice to maybe ambitious like freshmen that are coming into UC Berkeley, what would you tell them?
Man, don't box yourself in, and also try a bunch of stuff. Apply to clubs. It's hard to get into clubs here, which is annoying, but it's definitely possible. And just like really try and pursue your passions early on and explore early on. I can't tell you the number of people I've talked to that are like seniors and juniors now where they've realized, oh shoot, I don't actually like my degree.
Oh, no.
I don't want to do this. And it's like, now they're screwed. And they're like, even if you feel like, oh, I didn't get that, I'm not pursuing this research, or you're not going 100% into like the field that you came in thinking you were going to do, that's okay. That's okay. Like, explore now. Take the time to explore now. It may not feel like you're making progress or doing something worthwhile because it may not seem like you're actively going towards your goal. But it's so much more valuable to explore now, figure out what you actually want to do now, even if you feel behind some people, then go head on into something you think you want to do and realize you don't like it, and you just wasted, I don't know, thousands and thousands of dollars, and my God, like thousands and thousands of hours doing something that you now don't want to do. So yeah, don't box yourself in. Don't be afraid to explore. There's just so many opportunities here, and in SF as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Really hope that the audience has like a lot of good insights from the talk today. And yeah, if you guys want to reach out to Henry, you want to mention where they can reach you?
Yeah, I'm at Henry Goldberg _ on Instagram. That's it.
That's it. All right.
That's
Well,
it.
you heard it. You heard it here, folks. Yeah. Once again, thank you so much, Henry. And I think that's a wrap.
Thank you.